Hey everybody, it's Steve over at RadarAuthority.com. Hope you guys are doing well. We're going to run through a quick setup video for the Escort 9500 IX, the Passport. So what you do is when you get this guy's new out of the bag here, you get Escort's bag and you also get the detector, obviously. You get the smart cord and the sticky cup, which is really nice. So you can see the sticky cup just behind right there. That dude just sticks right down in this slot here, and you can lock it with this little button, and it stays in there. It's nice and locked and tight. The sticky cup has a little thumbnail ratchet thing on there that locks into place to match any angle of any slope of the windshield, differing windshields that you might have. So it's a great system, and it locks the detector in place pretty well. So real quick, let's just run through the 9500 here. Obviously, you've got your power up button right here. This is your GPS button.
GPS filter on.
So when you turn the filtering on, obviously this is being a GPS enabled detector. You're going to want that system to work. So you just turn it on, and as you see the lights flashing, that means that it's searching for the GPS signal. Once it locks into the signal, then it'll excuse me, it'll stop flashing. We'll go ahead and turn it off right now, just so it's not a distraction as we're kind of running through this.
GPS filter off.
So then we have our sensitivity.
Auto.
So
Auto, no highway.
highway is going to detect all the radar bands with a maximum sensitivity, the K, the KA, and the X band. If you go to auto, this is the setting that Escort recommends that we drive with the detector in. What happens here is Escort programs the detector to basically, as you decrease your speed, the sensitivity decreases for the K and the X bands. KA band is always maximized to make sure that we get that only police radar signal to our detector. But as we increase with speed, the sensitivity for the K band and the X band also increases. So what does that really do for you? It just minimizes the falsing, takes away some of the falses, so we're not seeing every little threat when we're basically not traveling very fast at all, which the GPS chip senses. Auto X is the same thing as auto, except
Auto, no X.
we just don't have any X band that the detector picks up. So
Highway. Auto.
I drive an auto there. So we have the volume there, self-explanatory, right? We have the mute button, and we have the mark button here. So the mark button is for anytime we want to mark a certain spot, specifically for a red light camera, a speed trap, or a speed camera. It doesn't work right now. I'd do it for you, but we just hit mark, and then you're going to see the LED is going to ask a question. It's going to say, "Hey, you want to mark here?" And you hit mark again. And then that's going to run through a little menu that you use with the up and down, or the plus and minus volume buttons here, to say, yes, I want to mark a speed trap, or I want to mark a red light camera. Then you click mark a third time once you have the setting that you want to mark, like the speed trap, and then it'll say boom, stored, and you'll hear a beep. That location is stored. Then as you drive up on that specific location in the future, the detector, will give you a warning as you're driving up to that specific location. Okay, so then we have bright.
Maximum.
Pretty self-explanatory, right?
Auto.
Auto.
Full dark.
Dark. Now the one thing with dark to know here is if you're driving at night, you don't want that thing just lighting up your whole cockpit there in your car. You can have it on dark, and you're still going to get the audio tones if you get a signal, and also your smart cord. Look just above my hand there in the background. You can watch the threat here come in. So there's your threat. That's going to light up your car pretty bright still with that bright red light, and obviously you still get the audio tones and the voice. So
Minimum.
I like to drive on
Medium.
auto personally.
Maximum. Auto.
Okay, so that's pretty much it for the top buttons there. Now we'll kind of run through how to set up the detector through any of the varying options that changes that you might want to kind of customize it. So out of the box, it works well, but if you want to run through and customize a few of these things, then you can do that too. So what we do to do that is we hold down the mark and the bright button together.
Preferences.
And the first thing we'll do is we'll hit bright again. Bright cycles
Pilot
through
settings,
all the different
full word.
options, and Mark runs through the specific options. So pilot, full word.
Single
Now,
vehicle
what
speed. Full word.
what full word does, it just says highway or auto. That's it for that. What
Single letter.
single letter does, it just says H for highway or A for auto.
Scanning dot.
Scanning just has the H for highway, A for auto, and has a little dot that goes back and forth. Which
Vehicle voltage.
personally, I think it's a distraction, so I don't like that on there. Voltage just says your car
Speed.
voltage. And speed's going to say H for highway, A for auto, and it's also going to consistently or
Full
constantly
word.
say your speed that your car is, that you're traveling.
Completed.
So you see how I didn't touch the detector there for a minute. Now once you're done with your setting that you're satisfied with, if you push the on-off button, it'll cycle out of the preferences menu, or if you don't touch it for 8 seconds, it automatically completes that setup process and goes away. So we'll go back into it here.
Preferences.
Okay,
Pilot settings.
so we did
full
pilot
word.
setting. Full word's what I personally like.
Speed alert.
So speed
off.
alert off, all this does is if we want it on, right when you get a threat, your detector is going to show you what speed you're going. If it's off, then it won't show you your speed. That's designed just to kind of give you a heads up. You can quickly look at your detector so you don't have to look at
On.
your car, your speedometer in there.
Off.
So auto learn. Okay, so this is the meat and potatoes of a GPS enabled detector. What auto learn does is this: as you roll up to a stop, an intersection, let's say you come up to a CVS. If auto learn is on, it's using that GPS chip to know, okay, as you roll up, boom, all of a sudden the CVS doors are opening and closing, and it gives off that K-band, right? So your detector picks that K-band up like this. Well, it's picking up K-band.
K-A-band.
We'll say that was K-band. So if it picks up that K-band, the auto learn feature is going to know every time you roll up to that intersection and it sees that K-band at that exact frequency, it starts to learn that, hey, this thing might be a false threat because I'm constantly seeing this exact frequency at this exact location. After the third time you hit that intersection at that exact location, the detector here is going to lock that signal out. It'll beep and it'll say stored. That way you know that specific threat is considered a false threat. Now, a couple things to know here. That's really nice because you're not going to get alerted to that false threat anymore. But if that specific threat goes away, meaning the next time you roll up to that intersection, your detector's still going to alert. It's still going to show you that there's a threat. It's just going to show you it's a false threat, and it won't chirp. It'll just beep. Won't chirp very much. But if that specific band or frequency goes away, then your radar detector is smart. It's going to know that thing went away, that threat went away. So now it's going to unlock that threat, and if it shows up again, then you'll see it. So it's just a way to maintain the integrity of that lockout system to make sure that it's good. Now the other thing to realize there is if you roll up to that same intersection and let's say that you get a K-band threat on a frequency, right? And so your detector locks out that CVS door. Now what if a cop's sitting there with a K-band? Are you going to get a threat? Are you going to get a threat alert with that because the cop has also a K-band band he's emitting? Yes, and the reason is because even though you're on the same band, his or her gun is going to be at a different frequency than that CVS door. So even if a cop is at the exact location that locked out threat was locked out, you're still going to get a threat alert, a new threat alert, because your detector knows that it's a different threat. Hopefully that makes sense. But that's one of the beauties. It is the beauties about these GPS enabled detectors because they're intelligent and they maintain the integrity of giving you good threats. All right, so hopefully that makes sense there. So all that to say is if you turn the auto learn function off, you're basically minimizing or degrading the capability of this detector. So you're going to want that thing on. So let's jump back into preferences here and keep going.
Speed, auto learn, on.
Okay, we did auto learn.
Off.
It's off now.
On.
There it is, back on.
Meter options.
Okay, metering
Bar
option.
graph.
So the metering option here is standard. What this does is this is just going to show you when you get a threat, it's going to show you the radar band and then also
Completed.
the strength of the signal for that threat. So it's the standard, escort stuff, right? Here's the standard. K-band.
K-band.
Obviously, the threat is deemed to be very close or a strong signal because I've got the gun, right at it here. So the bands here are all the way to the right. The signal strength is all the way to the right. And the audio is very loud and consistent. And as you see there, as the threat diminishes, then the audio isn't as constant, and the bars, start to drop off there. Okay, so that's standard. Now what we can also do is
References. Pilot's speed.
use
Alert auto learn on. Meter options. Expert meter.
Expert. What Expert does is in this detector, the 9500IX, this detector can track up to 8 targets at once. Specifically,
Completed.
2 Ka bands, 2 K bands, and 4 X bands. So what will happen here is, I'll show you in just a second, but just to explain it real quick. On the far left side, that's where it shows you the Ka band. Now after each band, it's going to show you lines, vertical lines. The vertical lines are the threat. So one vertical line means one threat on that band. Another vertical line or a second vertical line under Ka would show you a second threat with that Ka band. And the length of vertical line, the length meaning up and down there, right? That shows you the strength of that signal. So in just a second here, it's probably going to the gun will probably show you a Ka band and a K band, and you'll see different lengths of lines. So you'll see Ka band left, the K is in the middle, and on the far right are where the X band threats show up. And the detector can track up to 4 bands or 4 threats on the X band. So 4 X band threats, 2 K band threats, 2 Ka band. That gives us our total of 8 targets that it can track. So let's see what happens here. There's 1 K band threat.
K-band.
Let's see if we can trigger a second one here. Come on, buddy. All right, let's try it one more time here. Well, it was working. I couldn't get it to work. It's not working right now, but let me try one more time here. Nope. Okay. So it was working before. It would just show you the different threats here. It would show you a Ka and a K, but I think you get the point. You can see how it starts to go down there when the signal's reduced.
Preferences.
Okay, so back to preferences here. So that was expert.
Meter options. Expert meter.
Now we have
Mode.
spec. So all that means it's just going to show you the band and the specific frequency.
Auto mute on.
That's it. The band and the specific frequency. Okay, so auto mute, all that is as you turn auto mute on after it's like 8 seconds, it starts to automatically reduce the volume of the threat, which, let me show you again real quick. It's going to complete the
Completed.
preference setting there. Okay, so I'm going to use the gun here. There's the spec, shows you the freak. You see how it automatically reduced the volume there? So that's the auto mute function. So
Preferences. Pilot speed. Auto
that's
learn.
auto
Meter
mute.
options. Bar graph.
We'll go back to standard.
Auto mute on.
Auto mute on.
Auto power on.
Okay, auto power on. So what this does is after you turn your car off, if it's hardwired in, after 4 hours, because the GPS chip is installed here, the detector knows that you're not moving. It's automatically going to turn itself off. If you roll up somewhere to a concert or something, and whatever, you're not going to be there for quite 4 hours. You want to turn the detector off or just unplug it,
On.
so you're not wasting your battery.
Units. English.
Units English, self-explanatory, miles per hour, metric,
English.
kilometers.
Voice on.
Voice on. If you want it off, it'll beep. If you want it on, it's just going to tell you those threats, Ka band via the voice there.
Bands. Modified settings.
Okay, so the bands and modified settings. What the bands and modified settings does.
Completed.
All right, so the bands here, default setting, it's gonna alert you to all the different bands, right? Ka band, K band, just everything. If you want to specifically, that's the default setting. if you want to specifically turn off bands, then you're going to go to,
Preferences. Pilot speed.
let's go back to
Meter
bands
options.
here.
Auto mute. Auto power units. Voice bands. Modified settings.
You go to bands, you click mark
X band on.
to get through there. Now you can click mute
Off.
to turn X band off.
On.
Or if you want to
KU
turn,
band on. K band. KA band on.
if you want to turn KA band off,
Off.
which
On.
there's no reason you should ever do that, right? Otherwise you shouldn't be buying this thing. That's just how you can do that. If there's a reason why you want to turn off specific
Marker enabled. Default
bands,
settings.
that's how you do it. Okay, so marker. Now marker here is the same. It's basically the same thing as our band
Completed.
default setting here, except we're using our marker. So the marker function, the default settings are set to alert you via Escort's database to any speed camera, any red light camera, speed trap, those sorts of things. So again, the whole point of this GPS enabled detector is to alert you to these things. If you want to turn those specific cameras or camera alerts off, then you can if you want to. It's easy to do. You just turn them off and they're off. Not quite sure why you'd want to do that if you're buying this detector, which gives you that capability, but you can.
Auto meter, auto mute, auto power units.
All right.
Voice bands.
What else do we have
Marker
here?
and pilot settings.
That's it.
Full
That's
word.
pretty much it. So it's pretty straightforward. It's a great detector. It's you can see in our other
Completed.
in the more detailed in the full reviews how the performance stacks up with sensitivity measured against the other top line detectors and few that are kind of in this range here. But it's just a quick down and dirty on how to get this thing set up. And we certainly appreciate you guys checking our videos out here. And we'll talk to you soon. Let us know if you have any questions. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.